In 1 hour from now, you will hear the voices of 7 people that want to be the President of the United States of America. And all of those voices will be speaking, and I will be listening in 1 hour from now. I'm listening for someone that has the temerity and the tenacity to say what must be said concerning the greatest threat against America and Americans. That threat is not nuclear bombs. It is not even our southern border. Sadly, only one man who will not be on that stage tonight. Why? Because he's among the people this evening in the state of Michigan. Only one man out of everyone you hear up there tonight has the love for America to say what must be said. Tonight, hello everyone, I'm Professor Toto with a special presentation that I would like to speak to you about this evening. Tonight, as we face another threat that comes around all too often, many of you don't pay enough attention to this threat, and you should. It is called a government shutdown, and we hear political voices telling us every time this comes around that we cannot allow a government shutdown. But the question tonight is it time for a government shutdown? According to Donald Trump, it is. Now, it is not easy to say that because Donald Trump knows that that is the medicine that no one wants to take. However, there must be a leader in this nation that realizes the gravity of the situation that we face as Americans. This issue affects every one of you. It affects your children, your grandchildren, your friends, your loved ones. And it's the subject that I'm going to teach you about tonight. I felt compelled after watching many people in the conservative movement be X'd out of the ability to buy and sell. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I felt compelled after watching many conservatives, such as myself, being systematically removed from the marketplace of ideas, of finances, the marketplace of commerce, of trading and selling and buying. And it has alarmed me that I felt like I needed to lift my voice. I'm speaking primarily right now of people such as Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell lost his American Express line of credit days ago after being with them for 15 years in good standing. All of a sudden, American Express has decided they no longer want to do business with Mike Lindell. Not because of his credit rating, not because of his account status, not because of fraud, but because of his ideas and the way that he thinks. Mike's not alone. Yours truly, Professor Toto, just months ago, was written off by Square Credit Card Processing Company because of the way I think. not because our account was in arrears, not because there was any problem, simply because of who we are and how we think. These things begin to jolt me, and I begin to see, for the first time in my life as a Christian, I begin to understand the prophetic promise from the book of Revelation about a day coming in our world where there will be a certain group of people that will not be able to buy or sell. That's in the book of Revelation, chapter 21. Now, it never registered to me that the beast, we understand the phraseology of the beast. It has to do with the systems of this world. The systems of finance, the systems of trade, commerce, is all part of that beastly system that you and I all are forced to trade and live in. According to this prophecy, there would come a day where that system would find a way to get rid of a certain group of people to where they could not buy nor sell. For the first time in my 50 years of living, do I see it as plainly as the nose on my face. Tonight, I want to educate you and help you to find a way out of that beastly system. And I want you to understand that you're not alone. Let me speak to you about a British politician by the name of Nigel Farage. He was the Brexit leader that wanted to leave the beast. Without a bank account, you become a non-person. You become a non-existent entity without a bank account. Well, Nigel Farage woke up one morning in June, and guess what? His entire bank account was closed. He did not know why. They did not give him a reason why. It later came to light that they closed his bank account because of Nigel Farage's political views. He lost his ability to buy or sell. The bank account literally wipes you out of the beastly system. Nigel Farage tried to get a bank account with 7 other banks, but he was denied all 7 times. On June the 29th, Nigel Farage warned on social media, if they can do it to me, then they can do it to you too. CBS News reported on July the 17th, and I quote, "A growing number of bank customers are having their accounts shut down without much warning or explanation, leaving them without access to their funds." The same article from CBS quoted one affected individual that said, "All of a sudden I found out I'm broke. I cannot feed my family. I cannot pay my expenses." My fellow patriots, my fellow Americans, I want you to imagine for a moment that you went to log into your bank account to access your funds, to transfer money, and all of a sudden there is no account. You see, whenever people talk like this, it puts us in that role that nobody wants to be in, of the prophet of doom and gloom. And I don't cherish that job tonight, but I've come to warn you, my fellow Americans. We are entering into a time now that we have never lived in before. You've never lived in it. If you are considered to be anti-LGBTQ+, you are an enemy of the beast. You are an enemy of the state, and you must be X'd out at all cost. In the month of July, JP Morgan Chase decided to shut down accounts owned by COVID-19 vaccine critic Dr. Joseph Mercola. Mercola.com is the world's top natural health website. Mercola.com. The accounts not only of Dr. Mercola, but his chief executive officer, his chief financial officer, their spouses, and their children were all shut down. Chase Bank. Why? Because they stood against the vaccines. Canadian protesters that participated in Freedom Convoy to Ottawa last year had the same experience. The Canadian government froze all of their bank accounts. The same thing happened in Belarus, China, Hong Kong, India, Iran, Russia, Turkey, Uganda, and many other countries, the United States of America. Now, it does not even take shutting down your account to limit your ability to engage in business. In France, companies fear losing financing. Credit, finances, and loans if they don't comply with their government's political goals, such as reducing carbon emissions. What if a bank executive was to learn that you do not support climate change measures or the LGBTQ movement? With the press of a button, they classify you as a financial risk. And they deny you access to a loan, or even worse, to your own money. New AI systems are being developed that could soon determine your ability to get a bank account, a credit card, or a loan. There is also a push for digital currencies that threaten the use of cash. In the future, governments could easily bar you from buying and selling, but in order to make that happen, they must do away with cash. Now, we're living in that time where cash is being done away with everywhere. Just yesterday, I brought someone into the bank to try to help them cash a certified check. And the bank refused to give them that much cash, $13,000, because they did not have the cash in the bank. People unable to buy or sell are instantly severely restricted in their ability to try or even to criticize government policies. If they have just frozen your accounts, you become a lot less vocal because you do not want to make them angry. This has happened all throughout history, and it's going to happen again. Yes, I'm the big bad wolf. It is my job tonight to warn you, fellow Americans, the day that your grandparents talked about is at hand. Revelation 13 and 17 says plainly that no man will be able to buy or sell unless he has the name of the beast or the number of his name. In other words, you must be involved intricately into the system of the beast to be able to buy or sell. Now, you will always be able to buy or sell outside of the beastly system. However, you will not be allowed to buy or sell in the beastly system. So the question is, how do you get out of the beastly system to where you can buy or sell? You have things of value that can purchase things, but you would just not be part of that system. I want to explain the only way that this plan will work is that the mark of the beast, if you will, the coming moment when you will be X'd out can only happen with traceable money. Okay? The mark of the beast is when you place your trust in the beastly system. That is the mark of the beast. When your trust is in fake dollar bills and the financial institutions of this world, when your faith is in that rather than God, Almighty Yahweh, then you have taken the mark of the beast because you have walked into disobedience to God and placed your faith in that system. That's why during the Great Depression, people were jumping out of buildings. Their faith was in that beastly system. Remember, this beastly system wants to track you, to know your every move, to know your every expenditure, to know if you're sending money to Donald Trump, to know if you're sending money to the local church that preaches against homosexuality. That the only way this system will be ready to launch is if you can be traced. This is why they must get rid of all cash money. Now, we're fast approaching a cashless society with implantable RFID chips that are already being used, by the way, in businesses all over the world. The only way that you will be able to disconnect from that beastly system will have to be planned in advance. So many people tell me something, and it really bothers me. People tell me all the time, Pastor Vaughn, I'm not worried about any of that. My faith is in the Lord. Excellent. It should be. People say, I'm not worried about when it all crashes. My faith is in the Lord. Excellent. Now let's talk about how much your faith is in the Lord. Yahweh, God, always prepares his people in advance. He does nothing without preparing his people to be taken care of during the time of drought. Now let's talk about how you can trust the Lord. God knew that great drought was coming and Egypt would be affected by that drought. So what did God do? He told Joseph what to do before the drought came. He told Joseph to store up the grain in the years of plenty. When they had plenty of grain, he told Joseph, his servant, what to do, so that Joseph's family could come to him for food and to be taken care of. People say the drought is coming, Pastor Vaughn. The world's about to crumble. There's nothing we can do about it. Only a fool would believe that Yahweh is sending destruction on the economics of the world, but he will not take care of his own people. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. God does not work in your life without you working with him. These times are coming. You must prepare now. Why? That's working with God. God will tell you through a voice like mine, through a voice like someone else, what to do to prepare. Now, many people consider that doom and gloom, and that's all right. I'm willing to carry that label tonight if it helps one person. So what do we do to disconnect? We begin preparing now as the people of Yahweh. That's why we just bought 30 acres of land so that we have our own food. And I realize that sounds dramatic. I get that. However, ladies and gentlemen, your world is about to get very dramatic. Here is what I foresee. And I'm going to be done by 8 o'clock so you can go watch the vice presidential debate. I foresee that the plan of the New World Order, the cabal, all those in power, their plan is very simple. It's to eliminate all physical money from the world in order to accomplish Revelation 13 and 17. In order to do this, they would need a system with one central bank, issuing not money, but virtual digital currency. That would be a certain unit for everyone, that everyone could trade with that digital currency. For the first time in my life, I saw a few days ago a reverse ATM. Do you know what a reverse ATM is? It's where you take your cash and give it away to be given a card out of the machine with your digital money instead of cash. They want your money. All computer systems would have to be interconnected, implementing a global economic system. This may be the most important message you've heard all year long. I'm here tonight to warn you the time is at hand. It's no longer a prediction. We are here. The centralized banks will control the currency, mandating everyone to buy and sell using this currency. As most already know, central bankers now rule the entire planet. Currently, many countries are already switching to total digital currency, beginning with Ecuador, Sweden, Somaliland, Kenya, Canada, South Korea, all exchanging currency in cyberspace. Nothing is real. It's just the numbers of the name. It's just the numbers of the beast. It's all just numbers, floating numbers. Nothing real, nothing of value. These central bankers would administer the monetary affairs of all nations via these virtual digital currency system. Voice-activated apps are now available in Sweden and the United States for banking and monetary transfers. You can speak to your phone, transfer numbers. Keep in mind what I just told you. The mark is the number of the name. Remember, it's all in the numbers. It's just the numbers of the beast. Now, they're going to tout that this is a wonderful thing because now you don't have to carry wallets around. You'll be safer. It's for the greater good. You will have stability, lower fees. However, in the Torah, the word of Yahweh, there are several scriptures that speak about Yahweh hating unjust balances. In one scripture, he says, you shall have righteous balances and weights. What does that mean? Whatever you have of real value should be able to buy something of real equal value. Yahweh loves an equal measure. He also said, you shall not have in your purse a weight and then another weight, a heavy and a light. What is he saying? When you go to do business, that's your purse. You should not have a fake weight in that transfer. No real value. No real inherent value. That is why Yahweh created in his own system of bartering and trade, he created the precious metals of the earth, gold and silver, because within them, that's the only way you can get just weights and balances. Now, I want to talk to you as I go into the last part of my lesson tonight. I remember as a young boy in Foxworth, Mississippi, growing up in my grandfather's home. His name was Pastor Marvin Terrell, and he was an old-time country preacher. Some might even say he was simple-minded. Why? He literally believed the Bible. He believed every word of it. He gave his life to it, gave his life for it. Well, when I lived in his home, I'll never forget one night, Pawpaw came through the door. I must have been 10 years old, 12, I don't know. And he told my grandmother, Sister Lois, he said, I just left the grocery store, Lois, Sister Lois, and I'm telling you, that was the first time he had ever seen a scanner, that scans your groceries. Y'all do know at one time, the clerk manually entered every item and put a price. Remember those days? Well, he walked in that door saying he had sure enough seen what's going to lead us to the end times. Well, we sort of laughed at him. Country preacher. And no, that was not the mark of the beast. That was not, I get that, I understand that. However, looking back now, we do see that the wheels were set in motion way back then to lead us technologically to where we are today. That old preacher, as country as he was, discerned the road we were headed down 40 years ago. Before him, I remember hearing of preachers before him that told us that the Social Security number was going to lead us to the end times. We laughed at them. But sure enough, without that Social Security number, you could not be tracked. Those old prophets discerned each step of the way, the things, it was not the grand finale, but it was the yellow brick road that was leading us to where we find ourselves today. Now, I want to show you a graphic on your screen. And this graphic is very important. It's more important than you realize. It's a letter that was written a long time ago. And I'm going to read to you from that letter, if I may. It says, the wheels of government are clogged. We are descending into the vale of confusion and darkness. No day was ever more clouded than the present. We are fast verging to anarchy and confusion. Who wrote that letter with such a grim prognosis for America? Well, it was none other than George Washington himself in 1786. 10 years after signing the Declaration of Independence, he wrote those words about America to James Madison. And then in 1787, Washington wrote another letter to Henry Knox and said these words, if any person would have told me that there would have been such formidable rebellion as exists, I would have thought him fit for a madhouse. What went wrong? 10 short years after the founding of America, the Declaration of Independence, 1 decade later, George Washington is ready to give up on the whole thing. He's writing these letters that sound a lot like Pastor Vaughn tonight. He sounded like a prophet of gloom and doom for America. What forced this noble new country into these conditions far worse than the tyranny of Great Britain than they had just left? He wrote in the letter that the tyranny of the king was greater than what America was going through at that moment. What were they going through? Inflation. The greatest enemy of this nation, and no one tonight will talk about it. You will hear all of the other stuff spoken about, but brothers and sisters, inflation is the enemy of your grandchildren. It is what had George Washington so upset. But why was there inflation? Because in the United States Constitution, the government of this nation, the states and the federal, were forbidden by the Constitution to ever print dollar bills. Ever. In your Constitution, it gives authority to the state to print coinage of gold and silver, and that every debt must be paid with gold and silver. However, the Continental Congress began printing paper money. And George Washington told James Madison and Henry Knox, it's over. Our nation is over if you don't stop printing money. Because this paper money was designed on a lie. It was told that you could come and redeem, you could bring that dollar bill for $1 worth of gold or silver. And let me show you what you should have been able to do. A dollar bill is fraud. An American dollar bill is a legal note that guarantees you that you have $1 of real money, sound money, backing up that dollar bill. You should be able to go anytime, bring those dollars to the bank, and get real money in the same value. Right now, if you brought your dollar bill to the bank, you would get 3 cents worth of silver, not $1. Why? Inflation. The paper currency of the new Continental Congress was printed in such exorbitant amounts in relation to the precious metals that they represented. Look at me, fellow Americans. This is the only sound money in the world. Everything else is fiat, another word for fake. It's all lies. You live in a world of lies. And this is what had George Washington so discouraged about America, because wages and prices began to skyrocket, forcing the legislature to enact harsh wage controls. When those wage controls failed, moral-sounding laws reeking of piety and patriotism were enacted in an attempt to chain the people under penalty of violence to the government's money instead of God's money. Okay? The government's money versus God's money. So here's what they told the American people. They said these words: if any person shall be so lost to all virtue and patriotism as to refuse the dollars of your government, such person shall be deemed an enemy of his country. And that was a quote. They came and said, how dare you question the credit of your nation? You're not a patriot. Give us your silver, your gold. We give you dollars in good faith, and you should put that good faith in your government to make you a true patriot. Ladies and gentlemen, what's different in that than a bad check? We put con artists in jail. Bad check artists go to jail for doing what your government does, writing a number on a piece of paper that's a lie. And then they sign it as well and print it out. The depreciation of paper currency relative to coins followed the same course that our paper currency follows today. There is only one cause of inflation, only one. There can only be one, and that is called artificial money. Every dollar in your bank account is a lie. It doesn't exist. It is on your trust in the government. Artificial money gets its value from what it represents, just like a check that you write. If you say that this represents $1,000, when I go to cash that check, if there's not $1,000 in that account, like that check says, you've just committed fraud. Your government has committed fraud and embezzlement on its own citizenry. Artificial money is introduced into gold and silver as notes or certificates. And then they say, well, you know, why lug around all that gold and silver? Why not let your government or your bank keep your gold and your silver for you, and in return we'll issue you these lovely pieces of paper certificates, much easier to transport. Just like you fell for that lie, you're about to fall for the next one. Instead of carrying all those dollar bills around, why not turn them in and just let us give you a card, or even not even a card, just a statement with some numbers on it. Now, of course, they say, if you ever want your gold and silver back, all you need to do is present the paper and we'll return your money to you. Try that today. Go to your bank, give them $1 bill, tell them you want $1 worth of silver or gold to be returned to you. Every teller there will look at you like a deplorable. Why? They want you to remain blind. I want you to imagine with me, everyone, imagine this. Just think about it, okay? You have a vault full of gold and silver. Let's say you have all your children, all your family members, all your friends have brought you their gold and their silver. They brought you all of the real money that God created with his own hands, and they give it to you for safekeeping. And you start hauling it in. You start stacking it up. You've got sound money all around you. And you issue paper dollars to all those people, and they are as happy as they can be. 10 years later, they're still bringing you their gold and silver. You're still giving them paper money, and they are happy about it. At some point, when are you going to say, hey, nobody's asking me for this gold and silver back. Nobody's trying to redeem it. They don't want to haul all this around. They all consider that free paper I'm giving them is money, and it's easier to print than gold is to dig out of the mine. So by printing up paper notes, I can actually make real money. And you wondered how your banks got so wealthy. Do you not know the CEO of your bank is living off of your gold and silver while you live off of his lie? And so gradually, what do you do with all of this gold and silver? You just keep printing up dollar bills, handing them to people at the door, collecting their real money, and very few people notice that when they go out with their paper money, that certain items are getting more expensive than they were last year. But they mark it off as being that just due to shortage or supply and demand. No big worry. Nobody complains except a few prophets of doom and gloom who can be written off as crackpots. And then you, the one that's got the room full of gold and silver, you start growing delirious over time. Why? Because the value of what's in your room keeps going up. That's exactly right. The value of what they have keeps going down. You're making a profit you're making money. So what do? You go buy you a beautiful mansion. You pay that, and you pay with paper money on your mansion. You don't use your gold and silver. And the people that sold you the house is happy to have your paper money while you keep your real money. You're starting to feel real self-important. This is the life, you say. You throw a lot of cocktail parties. Within a few years, there is so much paper in circulation that gold and silver can now be denounced as old-fashioned. Who needs it? Who even uses it anymore? The only way you find it is in some coin shop. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been duped. We have been bought. We have bought into the lie. And what is the result? I will tell you. It's what no one will talk about in 15 minutes from now on that stage. The real danger in America is not nuclear bombs. It's not even our southern border. It is inflation. And only one man looked in the camera and said, shut it all down. And everyone thought he was crazy. Do you know why? They're blind. They love giving away the farm while their money is dwindling down to nothing. America's debt in 2013 was $16 trillion. Now, $31.8 trillion. So let's see, in 7 short years, our debt has doubled. This is what's wrong with America. Congressional Republicans had a chance to bring this under control. They have that chance again right now. But will they take it? No. Because nobody loves America enough to say, shut it down until we cut our spending and get our house in order. There is no greater threat to America than debt addiction. Nothing. Mike Mullen, the former chairman of the Chiefs of Staff, said these words: the biggest danger to America today is, from a national security perspective, is the brutal combination of the passage of time and our debt with no solution in sight. Now, what does all this mean for you? And I could go on and on and on. For example, in the 1980s, when I was a young man, it took $4 of new debt to generate $1 worth of economic growth. In the last decade, it now takes $10. It took $10 a year or two ago. Today, $20 to produce $1 of economic growth. President Xi of China told Putin in Russia these words, and I quote, "Change is coming that has not happened in 100 years, and we're going to drive this change together." The age of America's uncontested international leadership is over, and strong powers in BRICS are coming together to destroy the American dollar. We must make America great again. And if you don't hear this being talked about in 13 minutes from now, you're not listening to a leader. America needs a leader. America needs someone that understands what even Bill Clinton understood. It's the economy, stupid. We need someone that could care less about LGBTQ, because things are about to get real. Do you know why? Inflation is now at 10.4%. When Donald Trump was president, it was 1.6%. From the founding of the Federal Reserve to now, the United States has experienced 3,000% inflation. That means the value of every dollar in your pocket has been reduced to 3 cents. What do? Is there an answer? Is it all doom and gloom? It is. unless you know the way out. You have to unplug from the machine. You have to unplug from the beast. Return to sound money, real money. Do it before they shut your accounts down. Do it before they force you into a digital currency. Have something somewhere in real money. Joseph, prepare for the famine that is coming upon this nation. Donald Trump's return will stay that for a little while. But mark my words, after he leaves, he is holding back. He will hold back the hands of the crushing debt on this nation. But ladies and gentlemen, mark my words, you must unplug now from that system. You must know that God has provided a way for every one of us to be prepared to buy and sell without the beast or the mark thereof. There are so many ways you can do that. I've got 10 minutes left. Many years ago, someone came to me and introduced me to gold and silver. I thought they were crackpots. I just bought one coin a month. Several months ago, I took all the money out of my bank accounts, put it in gold and silver. I now have protection from inflation and whatever that beastly system, because there's one thing for sure, friend, gold and silver has never been worth zero, ever. And it never will. The value is built into it. You need some. All patriots need gold and silver. You can get it anywhere. You can go to the pawn shop. They have it. You can go to a coin shop. You can go to places like J.G. Wentworth. You can get gold and silver anywhere. Also, Professor Toto, you can get it from us. There's a QR code at the top of the screen here. Go to godsmoney.info. We will give you we will spend an hour with you on the telephone free of charge, guiding you through how to convert some of your 401ks, how to get your money into God's money. We are fastly approaching the time when you're going to need it. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, but we cannot keep up with this inflation. If you would like my help, my personal help, go and book an appointment now at godsmoney.info or click on the QR code at the top of the screen. We will help you. We'll answer questions. No pressure, no obligation. We will hold your hand through the process. Now, there is a huge benefit in getting gold and silver from us rather than the other places. What is that? No markup. We get you the gold and the silver without you losing anything to markup. Anywhere else, they have to mark it up to make a profit. That's understandable. We don't do it because we have an annual membership of $199 that allows you to buy all the gold and silver you want with no markup. So brothers and sisters, as we now go into this vice presidential debate, I want you to know the only way to make America great again is to get inflation under control. Shut down the government. Do whatever it takes. If we don't do it now, how selfish of us to want our children to have to shut their government down because we refuse to do it. Someone must wake up in this nation. Someone must become leaders. Donald Trump is the only one that I see that understands we're at a breaking point. Shut it down. Matt Gaetz, shut it down. Freedom Caucus, shut it down. Do not give in to the pressure. We need leaders in this nation. We need leaders. Donald Trump is the only one that has had the backbone to say, shut it down. Shut it down. Brothers and sisters, we're at a breaking point where we all, as citizens of this nation, must demand to our legislators, get our house in order. Get inflation under control. Donald Trump offered us 1.6% inflation. 10.4 is where we are. You need to prepare. Now, I'm leaving. It's time for us to watch the debate together. And I want you to know tonight that I am calling on you to understand how your government works. Understand why we're pleading with you to get your money out of that beastly system so that you can buy or sell. Many people like to quote a scripture to me, I believe from the book of Isaiah or Ezekiel, that one day they're going to throw their gold and silver in the streets and it'll be worth nothing. Sadly, they've taken that out of context. That happened in AD 70 whenever Jerusalem was destroyed. It was a prophecy for a very specific time. And indeed, after the Great Tribulation and after all of the troubles come on the world, there'll be no need for it then. But until then, God is telling Joseph how to prepare for troubled times ahead. Let's go now and we'll listen together to see if there's a leader among us in tonight's broadcast. Thank you for watching this special presentation. For all of my regular viewers, let me remind you, Professor Toto will have no more classes until October the 12th. We're all leaving. We're headed to Alabama this week for the Feast of Tabernacles. We will all be celebrating there for the next week and a half. So I will not be at this microphone. We will not have Toto tonight, the Conservative College. There will be no more classes until October the 12th. But we will be back on the 12th right here to hold your hand until we get to the inauguration of Donald John Trump. There will be Bible study this Saturday morning. The link is in the description box below. We have Bible study every Saturday morning at 10 Central. So until we see you on October the 12th, may Yahweh bless you and keep you, and may his face shine up on you, is my prayer. Good night, everybody.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside